I never used to hate birthdays. In fact, I loved them. I was the kind of guy who'd spend weeks planning every detail. The perfect surprise, the right gift, the kind of day that would make her feel seen. For 5 years, I made sure Emily's birthday was something special. Candlelit dinners, handwritten notes, spontaneous midnight drives, lazy Sunday mornings filled with her favorite pancakes. I did it all. But this year felt different. Not because I forgot. I remembered everything. The date, the dress she'd been eyeing, even the name of the restaurant where she loved the pasta. What changed wasn't memory. It was me. Somewhere between her late-night girls' night and the way she smiled at her phone the next morning, something inside me went still. She walked out of the bedroom around noon, humming softly, her hair damp and shining from the shower. She looked beautiful, radiant even. "You're quiet today," she said, leaning against the counter with that teasing tilt of her head, the one that used to make me smile. "Just tired." I stared into my coffee. "Yeah, just tired," I muttered. She frowned, came closer, and laid a hand on my shoulder. "Hey, don't be moody today. It's my birthday." I looked at her hand, the same hand that had been texting him at 2:14 a.m. the night before. I didn't say a word. Not yet. I forced a smile. "Of course. Happy birthday, Em." She smiled back, but her eyes searched my face, sensing something she couldn't name. "You sure you're okay?" I nodded. For the next few hours, I played along. We went to brunch like we always did. She talked about her friends, her job, her weekend plans. I mostly listened, or pretended to. I watched instead. The way she laughed too easily, how her fingers drifted to her phone whenever she thought I wasn't looking. Every so often, she'd try to pull me into the conversation, but I was somewhere else. My mind was still stuck on that message I'd seen. "Last night was amazing. Couldn't stop thinking about you." I'd stared at those words for a long 10 seconds before she came out of the bathroom, smiling, setting her phone face down, and kissing me goodnight. "Love you," she'd said. And that was when something in me quietly broke. That evening, she wore the red dress I'd given her last year, her so-called lucky dress. I used to love how she looked in it. Now, all I saw was how easy it must have been for her to lie while wearing it. Halfway through dinner, she laughed and reached for my hand. "You've barely spoken all day. What's wrong?" I set down my fork and met her eyes. "Because you slept with him last night." Her smile vanished. The color drained from her face. "What? What are you talking about?" "I saw the text, Emily." My voice was calm, too calm. The silence between us was louder than any argument could have been. She blinked, lips trembling. It wasn't." "Don't," I said quietly. "You don't have to lie anymore." Everything around us blurred. The noise of the restaurant, the clinking glasses, the laughter. It all faded until it was just us, sitting in a silence too sharp to bear. She reached out, but I pulled my hand away. For the first time, I didn't see her as the woman I loved. I saw her as someone I used to love, someone who had already left, long before I noticed. "I didn't mean for you to find out like that," she whispered finally, tears threatening. I nodded once. "You didn't mean for me to find out at all." And that was it. She would have kept pretending, kept smiling, kept saying she was with friends. The realization sat heavy in my chest. "You wanted to know why I'm quiet," I said, my voice barely above a whisper. "Because every word I say to you now feels like a lie." She looked like she wanted to explain, to undo everything with one desperate sentence. But there was nothing left to fix. The end didn't come with shouting or slamming doors. Just quiet, finality, and a hollow ache that settled where love used to live. I called for the check, stood up, and left enough cash on the table. I paid the bill and looked at her one last time. "Happy birthday, Emily." Then I walked out into the cool evening air, the kind that usually feels refreshing, like a new start. But that night, it only made me feel hollow. The city lights shimmered against the damp pavement, blurring as I walked, and for the first time in years, I didn't rush home. Home no longer felt like home. I sat in my car with the engine off, watching the streetlights reflect across the windshield. My hands trembled, not out of anger, but from the quiet realization that I was finally done pretending. Her betrayal wasn't just about that one night with someone else. It was about the slow, quiet distance that had been growing between us for months. The nights she stayed late. The way she stopped asking about my day. The way her laughter around me became rarer. She hadn't left suddenly. She'd been slipping away piece by piece long before she finally did. My phone buzzed. Her name lit up the screen. I didn't answer. Then a message appeared. "Lucas, please, can we talk?" I stared at it for a long time before locking the screen and driving off. When I returned to the apartment, everything looked exactly the same. Her shoes by the door, the faint scent of her perfume, a half-empty glass of wine on the counter from the night before. But something inside me had changed. I no longer fit there. I opened the closet and began packing. Not in a rush, not in anger. Just carefully, one shirt at a time. Each fold feeling like a small act of taking myself back. At the bottom of a drawer, I found the birthday card I'd written her the week before. To my favorite person in the world, it began. I read it once, gave a bitter laugh, then tore it in two. An hour later, she came home. Her eyes were red, makeup smeared. "You're really leaving?" she asked softly. "Yeah," I said. She stepped closer. "It didn't mean anything, Lucas. It was just one mistake. I was drunk, confused." "Stop." My voice stayed calm, steady. "It wasn't about him, Emily. It's about you. You made a choice. You lied. That's not confusion." Tears welled in her eyes. "I didn't want to lose you." And for a moment, I believed her. But what she didn't want to lose wasn't me. It was the comfort I gave her, the version of me who always forgave, who stayed quiet, who made things easy. That version was already gone. "You already did," I said quietly. She reached for my hand, but I stepped back. "Keep the apartment. I'll send for my things tomorrow." "Lucas, please. Can't we fix this?" I shook my head. "You made your choice. Now I'm making mine." The silence between us was heavy, not angry, just final. The ghost of something that once was love. I picked up my bag, walked to the door, and turned once more. "I hope he was worth the quiet," I said, and then I left. Outside, the air felt different, lighter. I didn't feel triumphant or bitter, just free. For so long, I'd mistaken endurance for love, silence for strength. But real strength, I realized, is knowing when to walk away, without shouting, without begging, without breaking. The next morning, I woke in a small motel on the edge of town. The coffee was bad, the room smelled like dust, but as I watched the sunrise through the thin curtains, I felt something I hadn't in a long time: peace. Weeks passed. People asked questions, friends, co-workers, even her sister. I just said, it didn't work out. No drama, no blame. Just truth. One night, I scrolled through old photos, birthdays, trips, moments that once meant everything, and instead of pain, I felt gratitude. Gratitude for what I learned, for the strength I didn't know I had, for the understanding that love should never make you feel small. Her number was still in my phone, but it no longer mattered. I didn't need to delete it. It had no power left. I stepped outside, the evening breeze brushing against my face. The sky was painted in soft shades of blue and gold. And for the first time in a long while, I didn't look back. Sometimes, silence isn't surrender. Sometimes, it's the sound of finally being free.